Inside Out is one of my favorite Pixar films. It came out when I was taking psychology in high school, and that was one of my favorite subjects. So seeing Pixar tackle such a fascinating topic in such a creative way was very exciting to me. And they did it with such great animation and characters too. But my favorite thing about it is its emotional climax, which is so geniusly structured, gets across a fantastic message, and gets me a little choked up every time I think about it. Very fitting for a film about emotions. I always saw it as a perfect little film, so I didn't even think it really needed a sequel. But nonetheless, 9 years later, we have Inside Out 2. I was a little apprehensive about it going in, because while the first film's ensemble of characters felt like a genuinely clever visual metaphor used to personify the abstract concept of thought, the way they showed off these new characters in the advertising made me feel more like this was gonna be Marketable Plushies, the movie. But after watching the film, I'll admit, I was wrong. And it's all because instead of just repeating the same stuff from the first or throwing in some random nonsense, they continued the story in a very natural way. The ensemble of the first film is made up of what psychologists consider to be the primary emotions, and the filmmakers had a huge selection of secondary emotions to choose from for this film. In fact, early drafts of the first film included dozens of them at one point. But I think they were very clever with the four that they chose: anxiety, envy, ennui, and embarrassment, who I really identify with. Like a lot. These emotions felt perfect for this story, because they're some of the ones that seem to get felt the strongest when you enter your teen years. And much like the first film, it's very impressive how well they're able to tell this story so fluidly and easy to follow when it's split between two different worlds. And while it follows very similar beats to the first film, it adds in plenty of new elements that expand this world very naturally. The biggest example is that while the first film centered on the concept of Riley's core memories, this one centers around the concept of her beliefs, and how her memories, and therefore her experiences, create those beliefs. And the emotions that are in control when those beliefs are formed are very important to that. And while the emotional climax that this leads to isn't quite as strong as the first, it is still very strong on its own. And it has some hard-hitting moments with another really great message. The last thing I want to talk about is the fact that this film shows such great love and respect for the art of animation. The story being told in two different worlds lets the animators show different strengths of the medium at the same time. The stuff in the outside world lets them show how well they can render beautifully realistic textures and movements, while stuff inside the mind lets them be wonderfully creative with more cartoony animation techniques. Again, this was already done really well in the first film, but it feels even more improved here. Anxiety especially gets to be very exaggerated, using squash and stretch and doubles in her movements. It also mixes in some really different styles, like a fully 2D character and a low-poly video game character. The love of the medium is on full display. Heck, there's even characters that use light tables in there. That's such a cool little reference. This movie definitely exceeded my expectations, and I am so glad that what could have been such a corporate product ended up having all the heart and artistry that Pixar is known for. Well, those are just my thoughts after watching this movie. What'd y'all think? Agree? Disagree? Think I'm stupid? Let me know in the comments. And let me know what you thought of this film. As for me, I say, Inside Out 2? More like Inside Gas 2.